Hello and welcome to the September 2022 Plan with Me. I am so excited. No, I am totally geeked to talk about this month's bullet journal theme, which is an 80s back to school throwback. So, this is one of those long awaited bullet journal setups for me because last year at this time I thought to myself, let's do this trapper keeper idea. I was really excited to do it, and I was watching bullet journal videos and realizing that there were quite a few throwback videos out there, and I just wanted to be different. So I decided to put this idea on the shelf, knowing that I would pull it out again this year for September. So this video is going to be very much about the process of putting this trapper keeper together. I thought a great deal about it because I wanted it to look as realistic as possible. I knew that it was going to bulk up my journal a bit, but I also knew that I had options. So one of the things I decided to do was to prep everything first. I knew that adding the bulk to the journal would make my journal a bit difficult to work with in terms of putting this spread together. So we're going to pull all the pieces for the trapper keeper together, all the pieces for the internal spreads together, and then we're going to piece them together. So I'm basing my trapper keeper on an actual trapper keeper that I found on the internet. Originally, I thought I would do the classic blue trapper keeper, but then I was like waffling between trying to recreate a Lisa Frank, which seemed like a lot of work, and I settled on this sort of cool 80s vibe trapper keeper from the decade, and decided to go ahead and make all the pieces rather than draw them simply on the page. I figured it would have a little bit more pop. Now, if you have some checkerboard paper or a bright leopard print paper, you don't need to recreate these things. But if you don't, get your markers out. Everything is really simple. I just created a grid and colored the boxes in a black checkerboard pattern. This is a pink piece of specialty paper that I had purchased and I had here in my bullet journal stores, or stock as I would sometimes say, and I started making this leopard print. This leopard print is really simple to make. You simply create the center color first, and then I say you kind of make apostrophes or little popcorns around it. You vary it in the way that the size of it and the shape of it, and voila, you have a pretty cool leopard print going. You can see that everything is sort of cut diagonally, and I'm literally prepping everything so that once everything else is done, I can go back in and piece these items together. So the trapper keeper is going to encompass the entire September setup. There will be a trapper keeper folder, like the classic trapper keeper folder. If you don't know, these folders had this sort of pocket opening, and inside of it, it had all the information you might need, conversions, times table, charts, stuff like that. Once all of these things are prepped and prepared, then I'm moving forward. Now, I saved a piece of cardboard to do this. Again, I wanted this to be as realistic as possible. Trapper keeper had this sort of, I don't know if it ridges at the base of it, and I thought that it looked like this particular type of cardboard. So when some came in the mail with the package I ordered, I just simply saved it. Now, I was markering this, but it just wasn't deep enough and I couldn't get the coverage I wanted. So I went in and painted this with acrylic tape. All of this is being done over the course of 2 days. I didn't rush myself. I just prepped all the pieces, and I knew it was going to make it easier for me later on. Inside the trapper keeper, there was typically like this grid pattern that I'm creating here with a stencil dot, and I am simply putting the stencil over the bullet journal dot to create this grid. I'm not going to do this as the whole page. Normally this would be some sort of like pocket, or you might have your pencil case that you would enclose inside the binder, but this is going to be my calendar page. I'm just giving it a typical sort of 80s vibe for the background, and what I'm going to do is place the calendar over it. Rather than do my traditional dashboard, I'm just going to include those specific elements within my bullet journal weekly setups. I am using various stencils to create this. You don't really need a stencil. I just found it, quicker. And you'll find a lot of stickers. I made stickers for this setup. I simply went on the internet, found a bunch of 80s items. Since I was going for a more realistic vibe, I figured this would be the best way to go. Garbage Pail Kids were huge, so I went and found a whole bunch of them, created some to size. I sized them down so they fit perfectly in my bullet journal, and then I pasted them, or rather stuck them because they were stickers, on the page. The calendar, I wanted it to pop and be flexible. This is a piece of dot grid paper that came in the latest Archer and Olive subscription box. I love this paper. It allows you to use the dot grid, which is really helpful, and also to have this dynamic color. Archer and Olive keeps putting out these great notebooks. They sell out so fast. So I decided, rather than use glue, that I was going to use double stick tape throughout. It's less messy. It is a little bit less precise, but it gets the job done. What it lacks in precision, it makes up for in less messiness and strength. So I'm working on my Trapper Keeper folder. This is kind of just a fun page where I will put doodles. These Trapper Keeper folders came in solid colors. I'm just doing the classic green and white, and I am going to include the folder, one of the little folders, at the back. Again, just sort of getting everything prepped. Using a white marker, I was using like a Sharpie type paint marker. It wasn't really working for me, so I went back in and actually ended up creating a sticker for that label area that I replaced it with. I just couldn't get the opaqueness I want. The paint just kept sort of absorbing into the paper. So you might want to test your paper to make sure it works. So once my ink dried, I was just using a regular marker on this paper. I was not happy with the vibrancy of the colors, so I went back in with 2 Acrylographs. I have all of the original sets plus the sets from the sub boxes, but I am unsure what the name is. This purple came from the desert themed, I think it was ethereal desert themed box. And I'm not sure where this orange, this sort of deep marigold orange, came from. I'm going in with a Jellyroll in like a neon purple, and I am creating this sort of abstract geometric pattern. The flap for the Trapper Keeper I'm drawing so that it looks like it sort of matches and comes together. I just freehanded the logo Trapper Keeper, looking at a piece of paper with the logo on it. The font is pretty straightforward. Precision really wasn't my goal, I guess, in this spread. I wasn't trying to make all the lines perfect. I really was just trying to make everything really on theme and have that 80s vibe. So I used glue to glue on the pieces of the Trapper Keeper to the front cover and back cover, and then we will piece it into the journal. I did this early on, day 2, so that everything would have an opportunity to dry and settle before I put it into the notebook. It's completely finished, so there will be a back portion of the Trapper Keeper as well as the front. I had so much fun pulling this bullet journal spread together, just going back and looking at all of the very 80s school supplies. It was kind of a big thing back then. Lisa Frank had folders and stickers and Trapper Keepers. It was sort of a big deal. And then there, of course, was the Trapper Keeper brand and just a host of other things. And the 80s graphically had this very specific look. So I have moved into my weeklies. This is very standard weekly for me. I set it up in what I call a rolling weekly using the Alistair method. I'm not going to get too deep into that. If you are interested in like a separate video, you should let me know. But I do talk about it in almost every other bullet journal setup. I decided that I wanted these pages to look like notebook paper, classic back to school. Almost all of my sort of workhorse pages, those pages that are really about function for me this month, are strictly notebook paper. And I have some stickers and stamps and things that I'm just going to play with throughout the month. Every now and then, I just want a little bit of whimsy in my journal, and it's so enjoyable to just play with things like stickers or stamps and my mood tracker, which I'm super excited to get to in this spread setup. This is for my line a day. It is simply a sheet of notebook paper. I am going to use some stickers and things to jazz it up. Now, tabs are necessary in order to sort of break down the weeklies. It just makes things easier for me. I have some 80s themed washi tape that I just randomly picked up one day and saved it, and of course decided to use it for this 80s throwback. It's funny because I didn't have it when I had originally planned this post, but sometimes that's why waiting works. You are able to collect things and do things in a more, you have more time to let ideas marinate and breathe. So I'm using Acrylographs to color my tabs. I just matched it up to the washi tape, and I do paint both sides. So you can see I posted the sticker here, and now I am using some contact paper, some clear contact paper. Everything had this sort of shiny, plasticky feel to it, and I definitely wanted to mimic that. I'm going to do this both to the cover and the folders and all the things that typically make up this. This is going to be a pocket, these pieces, these 3 pieces, and you'll see me piece those pieces together in a minute. Now, I had thought about placing these items in and then putting the contact paper on it, but to me it just made more sense to get everything together and then to tape it into the bullet journal. Again, due to the strength of it, I am using double-sided tape to get this done. I have 3 different sizes, and I knew that it would hold. So I am getting the double stick tape ready for my pocket folder. So I just put 2 strips to sort of represent the top of this folder, and then here is the pocket. Now I realized that I put the contact paper on the wrong side, so this is it's basically laminated. I posted it in there and then trim the sides. Now I'm getting ready to put in the folders and the journal. I simply, again, tape everything in. I realized that it was coming out a little more than I wanted, so I trimmed the sides. At this point, the bulk in my journal isn't nearly as much as what happens in the end, and we'll talk about why that is. So this is the back folder. Everything is finished. I really wanted it to feel like these items were contained in the folder. And again, the tape just makes it quick and easy. No waiting for things to dry, no worrying about things getting all messy. I used a lot of tape. I didn't want to worry about this cardboard sticking to it. So we are going into the mood tracker. So Pac-Man was huge, lots of different video games, but I think Pac-Man was king back then. So I decided that my mood tracker was going to be a Pac-Man game. I set up 2 black sheets of tear out paper from the Archer and Olive notebook. They're trimmed down to match my tabs, or Dutch doors, if you will, and there'll be a cherry when there's a good day, a regular dot when things are just a normal day, and a ghost when things are bad. I can't wait to sort of draw in the ghost. Hopefully, maybe I don't have any ghosts. Maybe it'll be a great month where there's no bad days, but that's super rare. But this was a lot of fun. Things got a little off track and it didn't fit in the notebook. I used a black pen, an ink, not ink, but an acrylic pen to go in. Now this part here, this was so crazy. This Velcro did not want to come apart. I had such a difficult time getting it together. Oh, ASMR, so satisfied. Guys, I think I'm gonna be doing this all month long. All right, now for the last part, just adding in the details. I found scratch and sniff stickers. These smell like pizza, puffy stickers. I had some stickers with letters on them that I was supposed to use for the month, but then I realized that I didn't have enough letters to spell out the month of September. So we're gonna get to that, my fix for that. These are some floppy disks. These, we don't use these anymore, but they were huge and new in the 80s, and everybody was using them to store their papers and data if you were lucky enough to have a computer. But most of us had use of a computer if we didn't have one at home at school. So I took the scrap paper from the notebook, the front of the notebook, and I used a stencil that had a very Pac-Man-y vibe, very 80s, to create letters that spelled September. This was spur of the moment, but I think in the end it was kismet. I mean, I think it just kind of fit perfectly with the theme and with the page. I used some dot stickers to create some detail on the green paper, and I just simply glued these in with my Tumbo glue. And there's my calendar page. I stamped in my calendar, the days of the week. I thought about just writing them in, but I did want this to be sort of as neat as possible. So I found stamp ink that was the color of the notebook paper, and I went ahead and stamped it. At this point, I am desperately looking for my number 2. Oh, and it was like right in front of my face. It was kind of crazy. So I decided to leave space for doodles because there were certain things in school that I was doodling all the time. One of them was Garfield, so no notebook of mine would be complete without a Garfield somewhere scribbled in, and that doodle at the bottom. And since I always wanted to be a performer, I was always practicing my signature. So we had to include some signatures, and there it is. There it is. The Trapper Keeper. So excited about this. Plan to use a lot of stamps and stickers all through the month, and I forgot about my trackers. I had the page for it. Alright, time for the final flip. I am so happy with how this all came together. I love that it looks like a little mini Trapper Keeper in the middle of my journal. It looks really, I think, pretty spot on. I love that I was able to get that sort of plasticky feel by using the contact paper, and I am going to so enjoy hearing that Velcro every time I open the notebook. This whole thing is just so much fun. There's a lot of nostalgia in it, a lot of memories, stickers. Just remembering in grade school, like working really hard to get stickers from my teacher and putting them on my folder. Notebook paper, which I don't really use anymore. It's kind of interesting that I don't use any sort of lined notebook paper. I loved video games back in the day. I had an Atari, and played games with my sisters all the time. This is just so cool. There's workhorse pages in here too, of course. I went back at the end, I didn't do that here, and put in the washi tape on the other side because it was supposed to be there, it was just missing. This is my line a day. I went in and used those stickers that I had planned to use for September and put it in for my line a day instead. I love this little pocket. It has stickers that I can sort of use and play with all month. I will be scratching and sniffing the stickers. I love how it feels so finished. You have the back cover all the way to the front, and you can't really see it, but the ridges that are on that edge of the Trapper Keeper are there as well. So if you made it to the end of this video and you think that it was like totally radical, please like and subscribe. All jokes aside, it really helps my channel and I would greatly appreciate it. So in the comments section, put your favorite thing from the 80s. It could be a song, an emoji, whatever you love. Till next time.